This is Ice Cream Gecko, and in today's video I'm going to take a look at the stuffed crust pizza from Aldi in the salami version. They are having their American week right now, and I thought to myself, well, why not try out a stuffed crust pizza for once? I don't remember ever having one, so I bought a few, well, two, and this is the first one. My first stuffed crust pizza. So what do they say? Well, it's made in Austria. It is pizza with mozzarella in the crust and mozzarella on the base all around, and we've got salami and onions, and it's frozen. That's really all that is on the front of the box. On the back there is a bit more, not too much. Maybe you can read some of this. I'm not going to. I'm just getting this out of its packaging. So we can see quite clearly what this is all about. We've got our onions, we've got our salami pieces, and some cheese on there, and probably some cheese in the crust as well. I'll get this in the oven now, and I'll see how this is. The pizza's ready now. I had it in the oven for about 17 minutes at 220 degrees Celsius. I did not preheat the oven. I never do that just because of well, I do not want to waste energy with nothing in the oven. Basically, that's the root of that intention. I must say that the smell that's coming from this is very similar to what you get when you order a proper pizza in a proper Italian restaurant. You can really smell the onions and the salami with a nice dough. That's the smell though. Let's see how the texture and the taste is. Twist this around just a little bit. By the looks of it, you see the crust. Lovely, very nice in the consistency that I can feel through that little pressing test. Feels nice and fluffy while cutting it. And let's take a look at a proper slice. See, it's quite airy. There's the mozzarella in there. It's not melted. Maybe I should have left it in there for a bit longer. The bottom looks very nice, although you can see some of the little, you know, the Laufband that it was running on. Overall, though, there it comes out, a little bit of mozzarella. Overall, I'm quite impressed from the very first impression. So let's see how this tastes. So the first slice is quite surprising actually. The pizza base, the dough, is much better than I expected. It is nice and fluffy without being like brittle, what you usually get with these American style pizzas, which is really not my thing. So I was kind of expecting that from this one, but this is very different. The dough itself, the crust here on the side, is the perfect amount of fluffy, I guess. A decent execution of what you're actually aiming for with a fluffy American style pizza. So very surprised by that, positively surprised. The mozzarella in the crust is not all that great, I've got to say. Maybe it changes a bit in I don't know, in flavor. When it gets a bit hotter, maybe I have to make this hotter or lower the temperature and just keep it in the oven for a bit longer. But it's not all that great, but it's fine. Something I can definitely say is that putting these actual bigger onion pieces of red onion pieces on here is making a huge difference when it comes to the smell and possibly the taste, although I'm not quite sure if that's really the taste or just the smell that kind of gets in your mouth. Because after all, when onions are cooked and are not omnipresent like they are on this pizza, they don't really taste all that much. But from what I can taste and smell, very nice indeed. Lovely execution of that. So I'll go for another slice. Now for a nicer looking one, certainly. Yeah, let's get all of that stuff on here. Lovely. So far, I've got to say, I'm impressed. and I didn't expect to be so impressed and surprised in a positive way. Even after a few more slices, really, the story stays almost the same. Very consistent in its flavor, and there is nothing that I find disgusting whatsoever. Something I've got to say though, now that I'm eating a bit more of this, is that maybe just ditch the whole stuffed crust pizza name and just make this the regular American pizza, because it's a lovely item and I do not need that mozzarella in there. It draws out a bit of excitement for me out of this otherwise lovely product. Maybe it's just me. You know, I like proper mozzarella. I like, because this is not the regular mozzarella that you get at the shops. You know, that you get in a bag and it's still in its own juice. No, this is cheaper mozzarella. So after all, for me, not really a plus in any way. For the future, just leave it out of there and call this your regular American pizza, and you've got a lovely product that you can buy. I did not expect to say really anything good about this when I bought this, and when I turned on the camera and I had this on my desk, because usually American pizzas are just disappointing, especially the frozen ones, because there's like crumbs everywhere and it's completely disintegrating and it's just a huge mess of way too much in the toppings and way too much sauce. They could put a tiny bit more sauce on here, maybe on the sides here, just a bit more sauce of that red tomato stuff, because that really tastes very nice, and I would love to have a bit more of that. Ditch the mozzarella from the crust, put a bit more sauce on, and you've got yourself a wonderful frozen pizza. It's themed American, but really it's just overall pizza, full stop. Wonderful pizza, full stop. I'll have to taste a bit more of that, just for the video, of course. It does look nice here as well, with a nicely textured base or crust. I always get confused what you actually call this in America. Overall, just very nice, very nice. So I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist finishing this before I finished the video. Very unusual. Usually I eat half of a pizza, or a third, maybe 2/3, and leave the rest for me to enjoy when the camera's off and everything is rendering. You know, just to have a bit of peace of mind and enjoy a bit on my own. But I thought differently today, because it was quite nice, and I wanted to finish this. It was tasty enough for me to consume it as a whole, almost. Overall, all things considered, a lovely item. I can definitely recommend this. A few points of criticism are that they probably just should ditch the mozzarella. It's just calories that aren't any fun. Thought about that, and I think that's the best description that I can describe this with, because really it's cheap mozzarella and it's not that tasty, and it's just calories that you don't need. They are chewy when you chew on the nice fluffy pizza crust. Draws away from that a little bit. So what they can do better is a bit more sauce, ditch the mozzarella stuffed crust, and put maybe a few more onions on there, because I really enjoyed those on this one. And I could, you know, for me, I like a lot of onions on my pizza. I always put a whole one on one pizza when I make them myself. So I'm weird, I know, but I love it. And would love to see a bit more of that on this pizza as well. It's just overall lovely. Didn't expect this at all. I was concerned that Aldi is completely going to send their pizzas down the drain, because they are reworking their entire lineup of pizzas. They're keeping some and just repackaging those, but quite a few are being reworked, and as we all know, reworking, streamlining processes and all that good stuff. It's not always the best thing when it comes to the consumer experience, but this right here was definitely a nice effort, and I'm sure that many of their customers who buy this will say so as well. That's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope I'm going to see you soon. Until then, goodbye.